All right, welcome everyone. This is Impact 100 Houston's Philanthropy Friday, and we have our guests from Houston reVision joining us today. I am Michelle McGovern. I serve on the board of Impact 100, and I'm currently co-chairing the Grant Review Committee and did it last year as well. We're thrilled to have with us Charles and Rachel from Houston reVision, and I'll let them introduce themselves before we get the presentation started.
Great.
Hi, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Charles Rotrammel. I'm the CEO of Houston reVision.
Hi, I'm Rachel Brownlee, and I'm Director of Grants for Houston reVision.
Again, welcome, and welcome to our guests that have joined us today as well. As I hope everyone realizes, Houston reVision was a 2023 grant recipient of $100,000 in our Health and Wellness Focus Area Committee. And some of the objectives that they were hoping to reach with our funding was to continue to operate their drop-in center as a safe and secure space for the disconnected youth in our community that they serve. They bring referred youth and hope to help them continue their education or enter the workforce successfully. And then referred youth, they provide case management and counseling for. And so their goals were to continue this work that they're doing and be able to reach more of our youth in the community. So Rachel and Charles, I'll turn it over to you to begin the presentation. And Charles, I think you said we can do some questions through the chat and try and address those, but then also we'll have some time at the end of the presentation for questions as well.
Great.
Thanks.
We've got a slide deck, so Rachel will share her screen. All right. Well, thank you. We are thrilled to be the recipient of the Impact 100 grant from last year. It was a big honor for us, and to be honest, a surprise for us to get so much support for the work for disconnected youth and unstably housed young people. As you know, we do operate a drop-in center at our location on Bel Air Boulevard. It is open every day, and we have continued to operate that throughout the period since we've been funded. We've seen more and more young people, and we see young people every day. We've continued to operate our housing program, and thanks to the support of Impact 100, we've been able to get more and more young people housed, and we'll get into that now. Let's advance the slides. So this is our staff. We have on our wall painted the word familia, and we take that very seriously. We really believe in this concept of creating a community of kinship for young people, and the majority of our staff were served by the program as youth, and you can probably see that from how they appear in the photo, but now a lot of them are college graduates, and they are working directly with the youth and the young people that we see in the building every day. We had a couple of milestones that I wanted to mention before we move. Can you go back? I think we had a couple of milestones during the year that I wanted to mention that we didn't talk about last fall because we didn't know that this was going to happen. But our sort of tentpole activities, we're always looking for ways to engage young people, and we believe in skill-based activities that have a high degree of difficulty, but also a high degree of competition, so that young people can develop this sense of mastery. And we're always trying to find those activities that really capture the imagination of young people, so that they spend their time in these activity areas as opposed to in negative ways, or really just struggling with how they spend their time. And so our big two activity areas are soccer and breaking. I know those sound very unrelated to each other, and they are. They developed at different times and in different spaces of the life of reVision. We've been in the breaking community since 1996, and we've been in soccer since 2006. And these are activities not that I was interested in or that our executive team was interested in, but these were activities that the young people brought to us, and they really wanted to have a space to develop those activities. And so we've gone all in on those two activities over the last many years, and we have a competitive soccer program that plays in U.S. youth soccer at the highest level. And we have a breaking program that we do breaking events every Tuesday and Thursday at our location on Bel Air Boulevard. And this year, I'm thrilled to tell you that our boys, our under 18 boys team, won the state championship at the highest level of U.S. youth soccer. And we had our first Olympian in breaking. So Jeffrey Lewis, if you watch the breaking competition, you saw him as Jeffro. He made it to the top 8 at the Olympics in Paris in the breaking event. And so we are thrilled for him. He's already back. He was at reVision Tuesday. He'll be joining our staff actually later in the year as we really expand our breaking program. But those were some thrilling moments for the summer. So just wanted to mention that as we advance the slide deck. So the mission of reVision is really to break the cycle of juvenile justice and homelessness among youth in Harris County. These are two problems that don't get talked about a lot. They're very much linked. There was a study that was done by Dr. Sarah Narendorf at the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work. It's now 10 years ago that she did this study. It was called Youth Count 2.0, and she uncovered this shocking statistic that the majority of homeless youth between the ages of 16 and 24 actually had a background in juvenile justice. They had been in the juvenile justice system. And we, because we learned about that through Dr. Sarah Narendorf's work, that's why we really dove into the homeless area. So our mission is to leverage the power of community to connect with these young people and have them have mentors, positive peers, life-changing resources, and opportunities for artistic expression. So what you see from our mission statement is that it's not enough for us to identify these young people, but we really got to wrap supports around them. And all the current research is showing that it's not enough to have a single support person for our young people, but they really need multiple support people in their lives. So they need positive peers that can help them with role modeling, and they also need opportunities to move their lives forward. So this is the work of reVision. This is a picture that was taken at reVision. I love this photo because at the center of this photo is a young man who had exited incarceration and served as a mentor for some of our younger kids. And he's now completed his parole and moved back to Dallas, and he's doing well. But as you can see from this photo, he made a big impact on our young people, and that was he was a beneficiary of the Impact 100 funds, in fact, because we were able to house him as he exited incarceration and provide him with a job at reVision for 6 weeks as we built this transition bridge for him to go back home. So we can advance the slides. empowering our young people is really our goal. And empowering them focuses on a lot of different components, as you might imagine. Education is a big one. What you see in this photo on the left is one of our homework help sessions. So we have tutors from Rice University who come several times a week through the America Reads program, and they help our young people with whatever they need help with academically. So if they're in high school or they're in middle school, they help with homework. If they need help with applications for jobs, if they need help with college applications, if they are in a vocational program, they're available to help with homework. We provide a big emphasis on advancing yourself through education. And I'll highlight a program that we've started using for some of our homeless youth because I haven't seen it get much publicity, but it's a fantastic program. So one of our new partners is Petra, which is an auto parts manufacturer that's based in Cyprus. Petra manufactures, their factory is in Cyprus, and they manufacture mostly auto parts for Chrysler products. They started a program called Petra Cares, which is specifically designed for young people exiting foster care or unstably housed youth. So this is young people between the ages of 18 and 24. And they've partnered with Lone Star College to develop an auto tech certification program. So in 7 weeks at the Petra factory, they have a class that will go through the entire curriculum of the auto tech certification, and they'll get their entry-level ACE certificate. They also then give them all the tools that are required to be an auto technician, which is a value of about $3,000. And then they place them in jobs in car dealers around the city. Because to work at a car dealer, you have to have this ACE certification, and these car dealers are having great difficulty finding enough people to do that. So we've successfully had several young people who were in our unstably housed program complete that Petra Cares program and are now working at several different dealerships around the city. And we've got a new class starting next week. So that's an example of a program that's really common sense, but fills a real need. Petra was really smart about it, also because they provide transportation if the young people don't have transportation, and they also provide breakfast and lunch for those young people every day. So they've removed all the barriers to the program, and so all reVision really has to do is refer young people to the program, and they'll be able to then move forward and get a real live job. Jobs are so challenging with this population because there are so many barriers. These unstably housed young people mostly don't have work experience. They don't have a resume. Most of them, when we meet them, don't even have an ID. So we have to go through all those steps to get them to the point where they're employable. But to find a program like what Petra is doing that actually, generates a career-changing job is super exciting. So I just wanted to highlight that. Here's a picture of our championship soccer team and our Olympian, Jeff Rowe. They had some proud moments over the summer. And from our soccer team, by the way, we have produced 4 more college students, all of whom are on college scholarships. So that brings our total number of collegiate soccer players that we have produced to 44 over the last few years. And we had 7 college graduates in May. I always tell our kids when they start filling out applications for college, do not apply if your goal is not to graduate from college. Don't start going to college if you're not going to graduate. It only makes sense if you're going to graduate. And so we've had a number of those young people do that, and some of them have come back and, as I mentioned, are now working for reVision. we can advance the slide deck. Jeffro, by the way, is sponsored by Ralph Lauren now, so you'll probably see him in some ads.
There, come on.
So through our homeless services program, the model is, and I discussed this a little bit at the Impact 100 event last fall. Typically, what we will do is we will get a referral from an agency. So that sometimes that's Houston ISD, sometimes that's a correctional agency, sometimes that's another agency that works with unstably housed youth that doesn't have housing dollars, and sometimes that's the Coalition for the Homeless for Houston and Harris County. And we will, if that young person needs immediate housing, we would place them immediately in a hotel. That hotel is not covered by the federal funding that we get for housing. So the Impact 100 funds literally helped end homelessness for dozens of young people in our program, because that was a bridge to get them into their own apartment. So as we housed them in hotels for a short period of time, we made sure that they could follow the rules, could make sure that they took steps to advance their education or their employment or both, so that they could become self-sufficient, and also really assisted them in making a financial plan for themselves, because we can't fund their housing forever. And so, we made budgets for them. We helped them develop a more long-term plan around their education and employment. Certifications are so important in today's workplace, especially for young people. And so we really educated them about that, and really helped them to see a future where they could be a self-sufficient adult. We had some trouble initially finding some apartment complexes that would work with us, because this age group, 18 to 24-year-olds, are not the most popular among apartment owners and landlords. But we were successful in finding some partners, and as you see, these are real life photos of some of our kids moving into their first apartments when they got their keys, on the day that they got their keys. And so this is what it's all about. Now, our work doesn't end on the day that they get housed. We continue to work with them. We continue to work with them for as long as a year after we get them into their first apartment or their first housing situation. But the work gets easier because we've solved the hardest problem. The hardest problem is when they don't have a place to stay. And a lot of these young people experienced homelessness at various times earlier in their adolescence. And so they really don't have a lot of hope oftentimes when we meet them. And instilling that sense of hope, that sense of belief in oneself that you can do this, you can make this work, has been really very, very helpful. And I'll just name this one apartment complex that you see in the photo, Turtle Point. They've been great to us. They've been fantastic to work with. They've housed more of our young people than any other property in Houston. They're located in the West Chase area, and they've just been a great partner to us. And it's outstanding to find someone in the corporate sector that's just willing to believe in our young people. And they've been just beyond our expectations about what a partner could be. We can advance the slides. So here you see in the middle photo some of our food bags. So we keep these food bags on hand all all the time, so that as young people might need food to move into their new apartment, or if they're going through a difficult time financially, or when we first meet them as well, we have this food bag available. These are all shelf-stable food products that they can easily prepare or just consume wherever they are. On the left, you see one of the apartments at Sunrise Lofts. This is another partner that I want to mention. reVision has housed more people in Sunrise Lofts than any other partner in Houston. You might have seen an article about this in the Chronicle. So the Tejano Center got some federal funding to build housing for young people in this same age category. And this is an apartment complex. It's in the Midtown area on McKinney Street, and it's brand new. And it's amazing, right? I mean, you can see this is what the apartments look like on the left here. And it is specifically for young people exiting foster care or unstably housed youth. And so just being a part of the reVision program makes these young people eligible for Sunrise Lofts. And this is a rent-free apartment for them for 18 months. And they can move into this, and Tejano Center has a lot of employment programs and education programs, and it's very close to Houston Community College's main campus. And so we've gotten a lot of our young people into Sunrise Lofts. We think it's an outstanding program, and none of them have actually gotten kicked out of that program. So we're super excited about that. And many of them are pursuing their education at Houston Community College or at some of the other vocational programs through some of our other partners as well. So just wanted to point out there's different ways to get kids housed, and there's different. We've really tried to leverage any partnerships that are available out there so that young people can find permanent housing and build that housing resume, if you will. In order to go and rent your own apartment, you really have to have a rental history, and you have to have a history of not getting evicted, and you have to demonstrate that you can pay the rent and all those things. And so by getting kids in places like Sunrise or like Turtle Point or different partners, we can really help young people build that housing history and help them be able to have options for themselves as they move forward. Another partner we want to point out is the Furniture Bank. So the picture on the right is one of our case managers, Giselle, who's a breaker herself, by the way, is helping one of our clients shop for furniture at the Furniture Bank. They've been another great partner to us, and that's a big issue. Obviously, if you're moving into your own apartment, you've got to have furniture to put in the apartment, and so we've gotten a storage space. We take donations of furniture now, and we also work closely with the Furniture Bank. So as we have clients that are getting ready to move into their own apartments, we help them. The Sunrise Lofts apartments are fully furnished, which is really neat. But obviously most of the other properties are not. The other piece that I want to highlight here is this emotional support idea. So young people who have experienced homelessness have gone through a lot of trauma. Most of them have been in some sort of a system, whether it's the juvenile justice system, as we mentioned earlier, or the foster care system. They have experienced adverse childhood experiences, and oftentimes many adverse childhood experiences. A recent study showed that the average young person who is in the juvenile justice system has experienced more than 6 adverse childhood experiences, whereas the average young person experiences maybe 1 or 0. So that need for emotional support is huge. A lot of our young people or several of our young people have serious mental health challenges. And And so we've been able to develop a partnership since I spoke to at the Impact 100 event last. We've been able to develop two partnerships that I really want to highlight. One is with Legacy, the community health clinic, and their behavioral health program. So they've been a great partner to work with. We can, and there's a Legacy, a large Legacy clinic on High Star, just less than half a mile from reVision. So we can just take our young people, sometimes on the day that we meet them, and go through the eligibility process quickly at Legacy, and then get them immediately seen by a behavioral health specialist, a professional, whether that's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and get an evaluation, and then even up to and including medications or therapy, whatever they need. And the other partnership I want to mention is the Harris Center, which is the county's mental health program. We also have had a number of young people that have received services and are receiving services through the Harris Center, which again is located on the Southwest Freeway, about a mile away from reVision's headquarters. So these two places just happen to be located very close to us. And they've also been really great to work with, and have the tremendous expertise in working with this unstably housed population. So even if young people come to us with really high mental health needs, we've been able to continue to house them. And I'll highlight a young woman, the story of a young woman named Skylar. We'll talk about her. So she was referred to us by a correctional facility. She was exiting a correctional facility as she turned 18 and did not have any place to go. She was on medication and had really high mental health needs. And so there was, a lot of concern that she was not going to be successful as she exited her incarceration. We did accept that referral. We did house her initially in a hotel, and then we got her into an apartment. We got her a job through ACAM. The Association of Community Ministries is a partner of ours, and they have a next gen jobs program. And so we were able to actually employ Skylar, like we did the other young man that I mentioned in the photo, at reVision for 6 weeks, just to get some job experience, and to get some, to be able to pay some so that they had some cash in their pocket. And then Skylar was accepted at Sunrise Lofts, and so now she is residing at Sunrise Lofts, and is in college at Houston Community College. She started on Monday, or she starts on Monday. So that's an example of even a young person that has tremendous mental health challenges, like she did, can still be successful in the program, because we have enough partnerships to be able to sustain young people in these categories. We can advance the slide deck. So where we are is we anticipated serving 70 youth. We're over halfway there. We've served 43 to date. We get new referrals every day. We're not going to have any trouble meeting that 70. We get referrals from schools almost every day of young people who are unstably housed, and that's where the big growth area is that we've noticed. There are more young people being identified by schools than we've seen before. I think you might have seen an article in the Chronicle about that as well. That's a growing issue, and those young people go to school because there's food there, and there's caring adults there, and they continue to go to school. We've had kids graduate from high school while they were unstably housed through our program, both last year and the year before. So we will continue to receive referrals and continue to work with these young people. 65% we anticipated would be stably housed, and 46% of those are currently housed. And so we will continue to work to get that number up. We need more of them to be stably housed. We don't consider them stably housed until they can be self-sufficient and pay their own way. And so the employment component is the most critical there. And this is where I'll put out a call for help. If anybody has resources, we are always looking for employment opportunities for our young people. The programs like Petra are few and far between, and most often, these employment programs are temporary, and they time out, and our young people are with us for a year or more. And so we really need, real life job opportunities. What I always say is our kids don't need job training. They need a W-2. They need a way to actually be employed so that they can build that resume and build that sense of, working in the real world and being successful in the world of work. So if there are any opportunities that anybody knows about for our young people to be employed, we would love to take advantage of those. We can advance the slides. Yeah, the challenges really have been this tidal wave of referrals. We started seeing this last fall, and it has continued. It has not stopped. We have had a high demand for our services, but unfortunately our resources continue to be limited. And the grant that, both the federal grant that we have to support this program and any other money has a lot of limitations around it. That's where the Impact 100 funding has really been critical for us, because we've been able to fill in those funding gaps, like the hotels, like the food, like the clothing or the furniture. The other funding doesn't cover any of those things. But I mean, all of us have had the experience of developing an independent life, and we all know how important all of that is, right? It's not just enough to have an empty apartment where you can't pay the electricity bill. It's all of that. And so the other funding really limits the what we can do to just the housing, just the apartment, and it hasn't been enough. There continue to be just more and more young people. There is a waiting list at the coalition that's still about 100 young people long, that still hasn't been referred to us because we're at capacity. We need more resources like this, and this is a huge challenge for our community. And it's a challenge that doesn't get talked about enough, like we talked about last fall. This is sort of an invisible problem because homeless young people don't sleep outside. They're not under the bridge of the freeway. They're not on the streets of downtown like you would see chronically homeless adults. They're doubled up, tripled up with a friend. They're sleeping in a car. They're just making it work somewhere temporarily, and maybe making money some way that is not legitimate, or not a way that we would want them to. And what we really need, in addition to the program that we're running now, is we really need more resources. We need permanent housing like Sunrise. Sunrise Lofts is the perfect example of a program that works and is a solution for this. It's obviously limited. They have 50 units, I think, but it's a dent. It puts a dent in the problem, right? And that sort of thinking around, how can we identify permanent housing for young people with all the wraparound services that they need in a single location. So whether that's an apartment complex or a new construction like Sunrise, or some other format. That's really what's needed here. Is more people to be a part of this problem, and to be a part of the solution to the problem. We see this after now having worked with dozens and dozens of young people who are in this situation. We see that they are the chronically homeless adult, just at an earlier point in time. If these problems are not addressed when they're between the ages of 18 and 24, these young people are going to become the 40-year-old chronically homeless adult that we see on the streets of downtown. We have the opportunity, because they're young and they're still able to hope, and their mental health challenges have not overtaken them to the point that it's so hard to deal with, that we really have the opportunity to solve this problem at this point in time, and make them to help them get on a trajectory to be productive members of our society. But it takes a lot of resources to do that. It's very resource intensive, and it takes a lot of partners who are willing to help. Just this lack of resources and the lack of willing partners has been a real challenge to us. We're lucky to have the partners that we have, but we don't have enough. Okay, we can advance the slides. We would love to explore the opportunity to work together with Impact 100 or any individuals on a couple of things that we need. We would love to host a pantry drive. Those food bags that we showed you in the picture earlier are really crucial to us because they can serve an immediate need. A young person gets referred to us. Sometimes they're coming out of a courtroom. Sometimes they're coming out of a school. Sometimes they're coming out of incarceration. Sometimes they're coming just straight off the street. They walk into our drop-in center. We need to be able to give them food immediately that they can eat without any preparation. And so, hosting a pantry drive would be really easy, I think. And we can provide a list of what those items are. As I said, what we're looking for is always shelf-stable food that can be consumed without any cooking. So maybe a microwave, or maybe none at all. And so that would be ideal. And then the other thing that we are always looking for is workshops on life skills for our young people. We've talked about this in the presentation today, but our young people need to develop their sense of independence. And so we always are looking for people to help with teaching them how to set goals, how to manage their time, how to solve problems. Budgeting is a big one, as I had mentioned earlier. Taking care of the environment, good interview skills, having mock interviews. A lot of you know how it was when you had your first job interview, and that's a nerve-wracking process. And we probably had more support than a lot of our young people. And so that first interview for them, they can be a nervous wreck going into that. And so having mock interviews and getting them prepared for that. A lot of the companies now are doing group interviews, and sometimes that's even virtual. And so our young people often don't know how to assert themselves in that environment, or how to answer even questions. They don't exactly know what to say. So if anyone is able or interested in helping us, we have had Impact 100 members come to reVision and do some workshops, and those have been really well received by our young people. We've done goal setting workshops, we've done budgeting workshops, and we've done some interview skills work. And so if anybody has some time and is interested, we would absolutely love to have you volunteer. That can just be a one-off event. It doesn't have to be a long-term commitment. It can just be something that happens once. But that one time will impact a young person for their whole life. So we're really excited to offer those opportunities and hope that maybe somebody can step forward into that. We can advance the slides. That's it. Okay, so I guess we can answer any questions now that anyone has. And I'll put my contact information in the group chat.
Be the same.
Thank you so much, guys.
Rachel can put hers. I know Michelle has our contact information. And we are on online at houstonrevision.org.
So thank you so much. It's just a wealth of information and such wonderful work that you guys are doing. It's so heartwarming to hear the success stories that come out of your programs. I just, it's thrilling to see what you've been able to accomplish. I'm going to open it up for questions from our guests here that are participating. Anyone have questions for Rachel and Charles?
Here today. This is Kristen Lenoir. I was just curious if we do have any members that would be interested in kind of one-on-one working with the kid, offering their services to work with the kids. Should they reach out to you, Charles, or to Rachel?
Either of us is fine.
Either of us. Yeah.
Great. Sounds like a wonderful opportunity. We have so many different resources of women within the group. Thank you.
Oh, and I did not mention, but it's been about 50-50. Our clients have been about 50-50 between male and female. So this problem doesn't lean on one gender more than the other. So it's universal.
I'm also curious about, you talk about, unsurprisingly, apartments are not necessarily the most keen on housing kids around this age. Do you all do any kind of special counseling with them on how to be a good tenant? What goes into that process? Is there kind of like an adulting portion of their?
Can you give that to us as well?
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. So we have a set of house rules that we go over with them that are revision rules, right? And these are just the basic things, like you can't have overnight guests, you can't be loud, you can't leave your door open. I mean, just the basic things. And so we really go over those before we ever accept them into the program, because we have to go over them several times to really get them to internalize these ideas, because a lot of them have not lived in a stable situation, maybe ever. Some of their home lives have been extremely chaotic, with incarcerated parents and staying with extended family, or in the foster care system, or through incarceration. And so it's a multi-step process. We really try to make sure by getting them temporarily housed and having them follow those house rules in the hotel or whatever that temporary situation is, then we can have some confidence that they'll be able to do that same thing when they move into their own apartment. But yeah, we work closely with the management of the complexes as well. And we have that same conversation, and they have that same conversation with our clients as they're moving in to the properties. So it's not just coming from us, and it's not just seen as, oh, that's revision imposing too many rules, but it's just like the norm. This is how we expect our tenants to behave. And we've been pretty successful. There have been a few incidents. Obviously, there's always going to be a few, but But for the most part, I think our young people have done a good job of following the rules and being good tenants and not getting kicked out. So that's the gold standard. Don't get evicted, and then we're all good.
And y'all work with youth that are less than 18. So how do you house those individuals?
That is our biggest challenge. And you can't get them in a hotel. You can't get them in an apartment. So we have to be very creative in trying to find solutions for young people. I will say, we've been working closely with Harris County on this because a lot of those kids are system involved, either through CPS or through the juvenile justice system. And so we're on the verge. I'm going to talk about a program that doesn't yet exist, but is about to exist. So there is a shelter that Harris County operates called the Kinder Shelter. And it is the only youth shelter now in Harris County for under 18-year-olds. That shelter is primarily used for kids who are in the investigative stage of a CPS case. But there's a separate part of that shelter, which is called the Triad, that's operated by the combination of Harris County Juvenile Probation, Harris County Resources, which used to be CPS, and the Harris Center that I talked about earlier. And so they have a separate part of that, that shelter that only law enforcement can use. So only law enforcement, when they find a young person who is out on their own, often outside of curfew hours, they can bring them there. And the Triad has a really well-trained officers that can work with, trying to find a parent, trying to find an extended relative, trying to find some place for that kid to stay. And then if they're not successful, then that kid can enter the Kinder Shelter. So we are on the verge of having the county say that reVision can bring young people to that Triad. We would be the only agency that they allow to do that outside of law enforcement. But we're also the only agency that's working with this 16 and 17-year-old population. And so hopefully you'll see some publicity about this as this program gets online. It's not, we got to go through Commissioner's Court and get all kinds of signatures, and you can just imagine. But everybody really understands the need for this program, and really that's the only option, because that's the only shelter that is available for young people in this category. I've been talking to county commissioners and elected officials about this a lot over the last year, and that's why we're close to getting this solution in place. So
Great.
that would allow us to work closely with those Harris County Resources officers and really, just get more partnership around these 16 and 17-year-olds.
How do you deal with drug and alcohol?
Any other questions?
Substance abuse, right. So yeah, that's a big issue for us, clearly. The Council on Recovery has been a great partner for us for many years. And so that's typically what we do, is we refer our young people to the Council on Recovery, where they can go and get an assessment and then a recommendation on treatment options. And so that has worked for us pretty much 100% of the time, because they're such a reliable partner, and they've got a lot of resources and a lot of options. One thing I will say is we have not seen the opioid issue that you might have heard reported in other cities. We've not seen that with our young people. It follows a much more traditional trajectory, of the traditional drugs that you would think of. But we really haven't seen the opioid addiction hit that age group yet. So that's not been a problem that we've had to deal with. Fingers crossed that we don't have to, but
yeah, that's great.
Thankfully, yes. Other questions? And then Charles and Rachel, how do you guys track your constituents long term? You've talked about some of your people who have finished the program and moving on and successfully completing college. Do you have a formal program where you are looking at them and their trajectory and tracking that?
Rachel, you want to take that? You were just having a meeting about that yesterday.
Yeah, so basically with that kind of long term, we keep in contact. We encourage them to, give us their contact information. And there's a couple of things. Number one, we need to do this for some of our funding. They're kind of wanting us to make sure that we're staying in contact and making sure that things are kind of continuing on the trajectory. But we also have a data system called Apricot that we put all the information in, because we're trying to track that impact and trying to track, once they get housed and that kind of thing, and there may not be this formal daily or weekly contact, that there's still an extension of that. Because one of the things that reVision has always said is, once you become part of our community, you're a part of our community forever. And so just because we don't see you daily doesn't mean that you can't, that we're not going to check in on you, number one. And then number two, that, if you need help, you can still, you can turn back and check in with us. So that's how we do it. It kind of depends on the individual as to how often that happens. And oftentimes we may not hear, if they're being really, really successful, we may not hear from them directly for quite some time. But does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Any other questions? I know when I was part of the site visit that happened a little under a year ago, you guys were anticipating moving into a newer facility next door. What's the progress on the construction of that facility and your move-in plans?
That building is open now. That building is called the Garden. We are not operating programming in there much yet because there's not a lot going on. It's been a soft open. It's not been a huge push because there's still some, it's a new construction facility. There's some problems that they have to come back in and take care of. We are operating a program in there tomorrow for girls. We're working with the Houston Dynamo and Chevron, and we're operating a soccer clinic for girls. And then, we will be adding more programming in that facility as time goes on. So, and we anticipate soon being able to use our soccer field again. It's back in place now. It's just not ready to play on quite yet, but everything's back in place. So yeah, we're excited about all of that.
Great. Well, we're coming close to the end of our time. Any other final questions for Charles and Rachel? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We're so excited about the work you're doing in our community and supporting these young people and helping to help them become successful adults. And we just are so excited and glad to see your growth and the successes that you're producing from your hard work. So thank you very much. I appreciate everyone joining us today and being a part of the conversation. And we look forward to seeing more great things coming out of Houston reVision. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And again, we can't express how much the impact, your name is very apt because the impact is significant, because the funds that we receive from you all have filled gaps that we would probably struggle to have filled without it. So thank you very, very much.
That's great.
We're very honored to have received it.
That's great to hear. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Thanks so much.